Good evening, folks, and welcome. It is just gone 5 p.m. on Sunday, the 24th of January. I can't believe we're almost in February of 2021 already. And just having a look at the high impact news in the week ahead, focusing mainly, I would say, on the FOMC statement coming out. Obviously, we've got the new Biden administration in, and they're taking quite a bit of action. And of course, they are keeping an eye on the economy. So I think if there's going to be any clues to any changes or any plans they might have, it might show up in this particular event. And so there might be perhaps some unexpected changes in volatility. And for the most part, that's really my primary concern. Other than that, I'm going to go across to the charts and have a look at what's going on with the currency markets. So looking here at the dollar index, we actually had a relatively bearish candle last week in the strong longer term downtrend. Having a look at it kind of full screen, we've got a pretty sustainable downtrend here at the moment. Nice, well behaved, well structured charts, nice bearish candle that's formed near the moving averages. And this week what I'm looking forward to see is a break of the low of that. So if we have a break of the low of this, then I think it becomes more likely we're going to see a continuation of that trend down towards 89 and perhaps further. Obviously, alternatively, if we see price break above the high of that break above 91, depending on how that closes, we could then see price starting to head up towards 92. But so far, based off this, technically, it is actually indicating that it is at least interested in continuing to the downside. So then this week, what that means is I'll be looking for shorting opportunities, a weaker US dollar, and therefore a stronger euro. If I look at the euro dollar, same thing again. The euro dollar has produced a very nice little bullish candle in the weekly chart to the upside. A break of the high that would see potentially the euro dollar heading up towards 1.23. And if it breaks beyond that, obviously, or breaks through that, then obviously continuing on beyond that. Looking at sterling against the US, amazing to me. It's been kind of choppy, but there's no doubt that the flow is very much to the upside. We've broken through 1.35, which is a strong monthly support resistance level. The next key level that I have here is at 1.4. And overall, the chart looks relatively bullish. It's broken through, come back and retested that 1.35 and produced a swing on the weekly. So there's very little technically standing in its way to carry on up till 1.4, especially if we then subsequently get a weaker US dollar. Supports the idea of seeing sterling continue to climb upwards. Whether it will reduce this kind of choppiness that it's got on the daily, that's going to be something that we'll have to see, certainly. But we've also now broken through some local resistance on the daily. But I like the idea of trading this to the upside. Then having a look at the Australian dollar against the US dollar. This is now overextended on the weekly and coming up against monthly resistance. And yes, if it breaks through, there's some room to move up until 0.81. Certainly, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a little bit of a consolidation before continuing on, or perhaps a bit of a retracement. But there is something that's now happening here that hasn't been the case for a couple of months, is that all of these are now starting to split up in terms of their behavior. They were very highly inversely correlated with the US dollar, or correlated with each other. And what's happening now is they appear to be deviating depending on the individual currency pairs. Kiwi dollar also looking a little bit more bullish than bearish. It's produced a nice bullish candle here in the moving averages, and again, wouldn't surprise me if this breaks through the high of that and continues on to 0.73. So that could provide some intraday buying opportunities against the US dollar. Dollar yen, no real surprise here if you look at this, kind of going back even to November. That's many weeks in a row that it's been sort of roughly range bound. It has also produced a bit of a bullish candle on the monthly. If it breaks back up above that 104.50, potentially price will head back up into the moving averages. But if we do get a strong weakness of that US dollar, if that continues, then it makes more sense that we'll see dollar yen continue to head lower. But overall, the chart itself is not as clear cut as a lot of the other ones, and it obviously has a lot more going on with it. Then looking at dollar Swissy, that has now produced that bearish candle within the moving averages. If we break the low of that, again, it makes more sense that the market is going to head down towards 0.87. You can see the monthly chart as well hasn't quite connected with the next level at 0.87, so that also makes quite a bit of sense. There doesn't appear to be any bearish bullish divergence in this chart at this point in time, although the daily did have it. We've then headed up, found some strong resistance. So one possible variation from this is that actually we're about to head into a range bound kind of period, and therefore that would explain a lot of the charts kind of deviating a little bit, because most of them are going to kind of effectively move around and all over the place. Dollar Swissy here having produced this very bullish divergence. If it does break above the high of this, we would then see in theory some strengthening of that US dollar. All I'm really going from here is the technical charts on the weekly, which are lining up and indicating a weaker US dollar, especially if we do follow through on those bullish and bearish candles respectively. Looking here, for example, at dollar CAD is producing a lot of shallow lows close to each other, and certainly on that weekly is not really giving a very clear picture, but overall there is certainly a strong flow to the downside. Again, it's also very close down to 1.25, which is the next key level, so a continuation down to that is also a possibility. This might be worthwhile actually updating during the week, in the middle of the week, just to see how it's unfolding. As I said, looking at euro dollar, for example, which is the biggest currency traded against US dollar currently, it certainly looks as though it's keen, especially if we break the high, that it's going to head on up, and that supports the idea of a weaker US dollar. So that's really my plan A. What I have noticed in terms of other opportunities during the week, I do like the look of Euro Aussie here potentially starting to climb back up in towards 1.6. I like the fact that we've now kind of broken this downtrend. There could be some potential retest of that level as price decides to find a new daily uptrend as it heads up towards 1.6. So there could be some intraday opportunities, and I think if I do find a trading opportunity on that, I will record that and then I'll post it up online. So if I see any nice new live trades opportunities there. The other thing that looks quite intriguing to me is some of the GBP pairs are showing quite a bit of bullishness. Pound yen is looking very keen to continue to the upside. We've got pound Swissy that is bumping its head up against resistance. Overall, that monthly looks like it's very keen on turning around. You can see the most recent price action all testing up against that 1.22 level, looking like it wants to break up above that. GBP CAD also looking relatively bullish, largely range bound. So they're not pretty at the moment, but if the market starts to move, if GBP sterling starts to move, they could find their way a little bit higher. I noticed some of the Aussie pairs potentially here might be pulling back and providing some swing opportunities. The weekly candle looking quite bearish. That actually looks like it wants to head a little bit lower. Let's have a look at Aussie CAD. Also, that looking potentially bullish to continue on to the upside. Some of these pairs as well, say for example QBCAD, also setting up potentially to continue to the upside. So there might be some nice opportunities on some of the cross pairs. The yen cross is also looking quite interesting to me as well. QBN, also bullish candle there, potentially to continue up this week. CAD yen bumping its head up against resistance, but is now in a monthly uptrend. And of course finishing up with Swissy yen, which is also prepared with a nice little bullish candle here just below strong monthly resistance. So really the point being, I do think there will be some opportunities on some of the pairs this week, and if I do get a nice opportunity and I can take the trade and I have the time, I will record it live and then post it up as well. That's it for me on currencies. Excuse me, as I said, just looking to see how these unfold on the day, and I think if it might be worthwhile to do excuse me, a midweek update on this. Thank you very much.